Welcome to the AbundaCulture channel. The Bible provides pathways to abundance. God is pleased when we succeed abundantly and share generously. AbundaCulture uses the family homestead as a platform to provide 5 basic needs: affordable housing, renewable energy, clean water, healthy food, and safe sanitation. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to check out our AbundaCulture.org website and download our free training manual.
Hello. Today we're going to talk about women on the homestead. I've said many times that if Mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. And it's certainly true when you're trying to build the life out in the country. So today I have with me my wife Marilou. Without her, we would have not had the 20 years on the homestead that we had. We used her money from selling of a condo to finance the whole operation, and then we worked together. She was there for 17 years, I was there for 20. So I'm just going to let her tell a little bit about what it was like, what she liked about it, what she didn't like about it, and you may have some questions that you would like to ask, and you can always get a hold of us through email, which will be listed. Okay.
Well, first of all, ladies, you probably already are thinking that living out in the middle of nowhere, where your nearest neighbor is half a mile away, is not your idea of a good place to live. And that was the way I felt when I first moved out there to a great extent. I liked my house. I liked the way it was solar heated, and we caught our water on the roof. I liked all the efficiency of it, but it was half a mile from any neighbor, and it was 50 miles from a city. So it made it difficult to get to know people, and it made it difficult to stay supplied with food and everything else that you need when you're just to live. So as time went by, the hardest thing was to make good friends out in the country. We were the newbies. Everybody else had been there for 100 years. If you didn't have a street named after you, then you were a newbie. And we were newbies to the max. And even after 20 years, 17 years, I personally never felt like part of the community. I didn't have a good friend. And that's really important for any woman, as you all know. And it was hard to be so isolated. But there are advantages too. It's very quiet. The sunrises and sunsets are beautiful. And you can walk around outside in your underwear if you feel like it.
And we had our cats.
And we had, at one point, 17 or 18 cats, all of whom just appeared on our property thanks to one mama cat who had 6 and another mama cat who had 3. And from those 9 came many, many kittens. So they came and went because cats don't live very long in the country. Although one of the mamas I know of is still out there having kittens, and she's 10 years old. But the cats were important to me. We saved a couple of them from sure death from freezing. And they became very important to us, and to me especially, as little companions on the prairie.
We needed them because we live in the middle of a field. Our house is built out of weed bales that are 4 by 4 by 8 feet, and we could have just been inundated with rodents. And the cats did a wonderful job. We never had a rodent problem.
Except when we didn't have a cat out there.
Yeah.
When we were gone from the house for about 9 months, living in town for house sitting, we had mice running along the rafters up in the ceiling, and they actually ate holes in the wall, sheetrock, the wallboard. It was terrible. But the minute the cats came back, they left. Either they were killed or they just vamoosed. So it's important to have cats on a homestead.
Why don't you talk to him about the composting toilet? I know everybody is interested in that, but particularly the ladies, some of them kind of get freaked out. Ew, composting toilet. There's another video about our composting toilet, so you can take a look at that and see exactly what we're talking about. But basically, it's a 5-gallon bucket, and we use sawdust. And
but you don't have to sit on the 5-gallon bucket because it's inside a box, which has a hole cut in it, and then a very normal toilet seat and lid in over the hole. So it's like sitting on a regular toilet, except you don't flush. And frankly, I didn't think that was very much of a problem because it doesn't smell, and if you keep the sawdust piled up. And I would much rather have my toilet in my bathroom than down a path outside. It's really cold on the prairie, really windy, and you don't want to be outside. So our composting toilet was simple but very effective and not a problem inside the house. Believe me.
We never had, in the whole time that we were there, and I was there for almost 20 years. Now we have a cat that's hitting the that's hitting the camera. I was there for almost 20 years, and never were the odors an issue.
No.
Now we did have a fan. I always suggest that you have a fan next to the composting toilet that you use
It
while
was an exhaust fan.
a little exhaust fan.
Well.
And that's just used for a few minutes when you're using the toilet. But people always ask that question. Were there any other things that you liked particularly?
Well, I liked the even heat of a solar heated house. We now live in town with a forced air furnace, and it's been a long time since I've had to listen to a fan run. And boy, it's not the same. It can get overheated in the summer, that's for sure, but that's when you turn on a fan and just sit in front of the fan. The even heat of a solar house is soothing and even. There's no wind from a fan. There's no hot spots, cold spots, unless you want like the bedroom to be cold so you can sleep well. But that I really realized how much I missed when we went back out just a few weeks ago, and the house was warm and bright, and it's very cozy and welcoming. And any forced air furnace cannot produce the same warmth of a solar house.
You can go to the training manual. We'll put a page up for you, and you can learn all about how the formula that you use to build our passive solar house. It's as easy as it can be, and it really was a wonderful, the results were wonderful. I didn't know exactly how it would work, but it really surpassed my expectations. If you had to pick one thing that was the most frustrating about being out there,
the
what would it be?
distance from town. That is the frustrating thing. I hated that drive, and it got worse as time went on. In 17 years, how many hundreds of miles did I drive into town, back out to the house?
And we should tell them that our house was almost exactly 50 miles from our nearest Walmart.
Yeah. So that makes it difficult. You have to plan ahead. You have to know exactly how many trips you can afford to make per week. And if you forgot something, hey, you forgot it. It wasn't easy to just go get something. So, but you have to have good storage so that you can buy mass quantities of canned goods and paper goods and stuff like that. So you're always well supplied because you will use them up. And then you just have to keep taking inventory and find out what you need. And but just the drive itself was a pain.
I always found that interesting because the drive was my downtime, and I enjoyed the drive because my mind went into neutral. It was a time when I could think a little bit.
Your mind is always in neutral.
Yeah. We have moved in to town now because of we needed
medical issues.
Yeah, we have medical issues, and we had to deal with them. We're old people, but we just wanted to have this perspective. I often, when I'm speaking, get asked, "Well, what do women think about this?" And it's really important that you're working together. And I never felt that we were totally together, but
because we weren't. Because I wasn't pounding nails and staking out new rooms and outside all the time working in the dirt. That's what he does, and so it was difficult sometimes. But fortunately, I'm a fairly introverted person, and I like my downtime. I like to read, so it wasn't too difficult for me to be out there. Now, if I were he and a total extrovert, I'd have gone crazy a lot sooner.
Yeah, we got a little nuts here. Well, thank you for watching. If there's anything you'd like to know, I'm going to have our producer put our number there, and you can email us, and we'd love to share with you some of the challenges that we had. Again, I'd like to thank Marilou, because without her help, I would have never been able to go on this adventure. And for me, it was the greatest 20 years of my life. I just had a great time. I've been working on homesteading for about 50 years, but to be able to do it in such an extreme fashion, completely off the grid, I could not have done that if I didn't have Marilou on my team. So, guys, I was just talking to a young man, and he really would like to get more extreme and get off the grid and all that stuff. And right now his wife is real happy with where they are at, and they've got a good garden. They've got about 1/4 of an acre. And I wrote back to him and I said, "Man, listen to your wife. She doesn't want to go at this time. Stay right where you're at, because if you're trying to do it on your own, I've seen too many disasters, and that's not what you want. We want you to be happy in your homestead." So that's what we've got for you today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Be sure to keep your eyes on the skies and your mind on Jesus. Talk to you later.
Though the things we do are just grains of sand, when these things are touched by the Master's hand, then our lives turn into mountains.